Well, all right, we are now done with the draft, and so there's a lot of talk about which teams drafted well, which teams drafted poorly, all that stuff. I've already done my winners and losers of the draft, but I wanted to get a little more specific here, and instead I decided to go with simply the best picks of the draft. So these are just, best selections, and I'm kind of leaving it purposely vague, just whatever I consider to be the selections that were the best for the team. Simple enough, right? A couple of honorable mentions. I had 9 I really wanted to put on this list, but I wanted to keep it with the 7. That's what I've done for every other video. So Romeo Dunze and Malik Neighbors, both selections I really liked by the Bears and the Giants, but ended up leaving them off the list. But I'll give them a shout out here. But let's just get into the list. Number 7 on the list, and I have ranked these now. In the past, I've done no particular order. These are in order of, number 1 would be the best. Number 7 is the 7th best. Leyu Latu, the edge rusher for the Colts, is someone that I thought was a really strong selection. The reason why I'm putting this on the list is I think he's a really good player, but also I think a lot of people would have gone with Dallas Turner. He was kind of the consensus number 1 edge rusher, but I actually liked Latu the best. I had him as my number 1 edge rusher. So I'm giving the Colts some extra credit for, in my opinion, drafting the better player, even if that wasn't what a lot of other people felt like. I think Latu, has better analytics. I know that there is and I think has better tape as well. I know that there is some concerns about the injury stuff, and yeah, that's concerning, but I still think that the talent is good enough. I'm going to take a chance on him. So I think that was a good job by the Colts getting him at 15. Number 6 is the Seattle Seahawks, who really got a star player and kind of had him fall to them, and it's a position they really care about, interior defensive linemen. So it kind of, checks every box right there. I really don't get why Murphy wasn't considered more of a guy people wanted to go out and get. I don't know why he wasn't considered like a top 10 pick, consensus. And so, there was basically no defenders getting drafted early on in this draft class. So that kind of made it easier to get the good defensive players, which is why, him and Latu both make this list. But just in general, I thought he was a really talented player. I don't really get why people weren't as high on him as I was. I think, he checks every box, should be a really good defender for him. Number 5, we're going to have a few corners here. First, Terrion Arnold of the Detroit Lions. They traded up to get him at pick 24. He was projected to go 12th, so a really good job too. It's a position of need. They wanted to go out and address that. I did also consider their Ennis Rakestraw Jr., who they got in the second round, considered that as well. But Arnold was, to me, the stronger pick here, as I think he'll be a really good player. They did have to trade up to get him, but I don't think he would have fallen had they stayed where they were at. So kind of a smart move to, not just trade up for the sake of doing it, but trade up to make sure you get the player you want at the position you want. I thought that was a really good job by them. The Eagles make this list, another team that drafted multiple corners that I could have gone with the other corner they drafted, but I figured, you know what, they got 2 players I really like. Let me give them the nod. I'll give them the credit for getting the corner in the second round, just because that's better value there. And again, Cooper DeJean. Is he a corner? Is he a safety? Is he a corner-safety hybrid? He does it all. The question is, where exactly is he going to go? But again, he was projected to go top 20 in the draft. I believe PFF had him as a top 10 prospect. Falls to 40, which is just, I believe the Eagles also did make a move to go up and get him. So Eagles like to bounce around in the draft if they can. It makes sense. He's a really talented player. So being able to get him is a really nice job. And I think this is maybe some people might think this was too low on the list, getting him at number 4, but I'm putting him at number 4. I think a really good pick. Number 3, the New Orleans Saints, Kool-Aid McKinstry. So yeah, 3 straight corners are on my list. Didn't do that intentionally. It just happened to be that way. He was picked 1 pick later than Cooper DeJean, and I had him higher on my board. Now, a lot of people had Cooper DeJean higher on their boards, so I think a lot of people, if they made their own top 7 list, they would have the Cooper DeJean pick higher. That totally makes sense, but I also just think McKinstry fits so well into Saints defense. I think the kind of concern about him is, can he get burned down the field? Well, the Saints don't really, rely on their corner just being able to win, one-on-one with no safety help. They will put safety help pretty frequently on on opposing receivers. So like, I'm not as concerned about that as I would be in other situations. And again, I keep saying it, but I keep saying it because it's true. He's such a smart player. He has such good instincts and makes so many good reads and decisions. I just have a hard time seeing him fail. So again, him, DeJean, Arnold, all really strong picks, but those are, you can flop the order around if you want to. Flop the order around, flip the order around is what I meant to say. But still, I think these are all really good picks. Number 2 is the Washington Commanders going out and getting Johnny Newton, the interior defensive lineman, who was projected to go kind of, who's 24th on the consensus big board, so he's projected to go around there. They get him early second round, and to be honest, I think 24th was way too low. I had him as a top 10 prospect on my big board. PFF had him as the number 11 prospect on the big board. I don't really understand why teams weren't, that crazy about him that he fell out of the first round. I don't know if they thought like, pass rushing interior defensive lineman, we want someone who's more of a run stuffer. He can stop the run as well. He can, but again, having a good pass rusher from the inside adds a ton of value. So for Washington, I think this is a great job by them to get someone who could be a star and a Pro Bowl, level player at pick 36. Yeah, that's definitely, one of the best picks of the draft, but it is not, in my opinion, the best pick of the draft. What I consider to be the best pick, and, I didn't put Caleb Williams on the list because to me that's kind of obvious, like you should go with Caleb Williams. I wanted to give it more of like I didn't expect this player to fall to you, a month ago, but they fell to you, so good job. And so my number 1 on the list, I went with Drake May, who, again, to me is kind of an obvious decision to make once he falls to you, but I just think that going into the draft, I think that May, in my opinion, was the second best quarterback, and I think there was kind of a tier gap between May and the next best quarterback, whether you think that's Daniels, Penix, or McCarthy. To me, I think that those guys were kind of in a tier below Drake May. That's my evaluation. I had some concerns about the, especially with the way that, this oversimplify it, the way Daniels will take some hits out there, and I'm worried that he's skinny, takes way too many hits. Will his athleticism really help him out? Did they just draft another RG3? But let's talk about Drake May. He has so much physical traits, and I think that the issues are a bit overblown. I think people act like he's like the dumbest person alive. No, he makes some bad reads, but nothing that you don't typically see from a young player. Guy's 21 years old. I'm more forgiving for a 21-year-old than a 24-year-old just because logically that makes sense. So I think that the Patriots should feel pretty good about the Drake May selection. It is, in my opinion, the best pick of the draft class. Again, not saying he'll be the best player, because if I were doing the best 7 best players, that's just my top 7 prospects, right? So no, that's not exactly how I'm doing it. But yeah, those are my 7 best picks of the NFL draft. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.